All right. Let's start off again. Introduce who I'm speaking with here.
I'm Derrick, Rowland. I'm the head coach of the league champion Albany Patroons.
The Albany Patroons League champion. All right. So now we're talking with as many coaches as we can here at Globally Ballin' at the Draft Combine here in Indianapolis. But Albany, the Patroons are a little bit different than some of the other teams we have, aren't they?
Yes,
They've been around for quite some time.
long time.
Can you give us a little bit of the history of the Albany Patroons?
Yes, the Albany Patroons, I think, started back in the CBA in 1981, 82, which was my first year as a player. I don't mean to tell my age, but I guess I'm getting up there. Phil Jackson was our coach back then, and it's become a very historical franchise. I think 50 NBA players have come through Albany. 5 or 6 NBA head coaches have come through Albany. And it's just been a historical franchise. We won a championship with Phil Jackson. We won a championship with the late, great Bill Musselman. And so we're trying to restore some of that history and bring some of that excitement back. And after winning the championship last year, that was a big step into accomplishing some of that. And I don't know if we'll ever get it exactly where it was because it's a different day and time. I mean, when I played, we had 3 NBA first-round picks on my CBA team. So that's because of the number of teams and a lot of jobs. So a lot of NBA players had to play in the CBA and a lot of good ones. So very historical.
So 2 questions that came from that. But first, talk to someone as if they're not sure what the CBA was. Was it what the G League is now? Is that correct?
Yes, the CBA was similar to the G League. The thing about the CBA is that none of the teams were directly connected to one team. For example, in Albany, we could go to any NBA team if they chose to sign you. Today's G League team are connected with that affiliate. If you're playing for the Knicks, Westchester team, you're probably going to be connected with the Knicks. But very similar, a lot of talent. There was more talent back then than's playing now, just because the talent is more spread out now. Back then it was more concentrated. You had the NBA and the CBA, and that was pretty much it.
Okay, and then after the CBA stops and the Albany Patroons are there, what do you do from that time off? Did this team just come again with the TBL?
Yes, no, it's made a few attempts to come back. The league went up and down, So when the TBL came along, David Magley and I go way back. He actually played for the Albany Patroons. We were teammates, and when this opportunity came along, I was tailor-made for it. I understood it. I knew what to do. I played for Phil Jackson, Bill Musselman, George Karl. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I just took a little bit from each of those guys, and we were able to put a championship together. But when the teams were folding, we get a job. I had a family. You just work and just make ends meet until what you want to do happens for you.
So the TBL prides itself on kind of branding itself as a different league. You've been here for a few years now with the TBL. Why is it a different league?
Well, it's a different league because it's just set up. It's the opportunities are different. Like minority ownership. We really try and help the players overall. This year coming up, there's going to be an agency connected to the league that will allow players a better opportunity to get jobs overseas or get called up to the D League. They'll have representation. A lot of these guys either have no representation, poor representation. Some of them are pretty much covered, but the majority kind of out here on their own. So it's just a lot of different things. We are really community-based. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, part of my recruiting process is not how your jump shot looks, but how well you can get out there and talk to the kids and be a positive role model and set the stage. So I think those things make us a little different.
So let me tell you what I've discovered through kind of researching other leagues and stuff, and you tell me if this sounds right. Okay, so overall we found that a lot of players, if they're not, D1, Division I, getting lined up with agents, that step from graduation to agents, am I good enough to play somewhere, is a little confusing, a little scary. And so maybe going to a league like the TBL where you walk in without an agent and maybe find one while you're here alleviates some of that pressure. Sound good?
Oh, yes, it definitely does. And it also gives guys a chance to develop. I get a lot of guys coming out of college. It's a different style. You may only get 2 or 3 shots in a college game unless you're the main guy. And what the TBL does, it allows guys to develop. I've had some guys coming out of college averaging 6 to 8 points get here and become stars because the game opens up more. It's just a different type of game. So it's a developmental league to allow guys to get to the point where they could play in the NBA or make some money overseas.
We've heard the claim that taking a year off from basketball is a terrible idea. Can you affirm that that's not a great plan?
To take a year off from basketball, it depends on what your reason is. You know, a lot of guys have a lot of reasons. I know if you're young enough and it may not affect you as much. It depends on who you are and what your situation is. You know, I mean, I never had a year off in my whole life as a player. You know, I played for 14, 15 years professionally, CBA, had a little time in the NBA and Europe. So without ever having a whole season off. So it's just different and depends on what your situation is.
As far as film-wise go, though, a gap season is probably not a good plan if you can avoid it.
Yeah, it's not. I would say if you had a choice, I'd try to keep playing. But it all, if I took a year off 2 years ago and I come back and I'm playing well, it doesn't matter. It depends on what you can do today in a lot of cases.
Great. Okay, so when does the season roll out? When do we start?
Well, our first game, I think February 1st. I haven't seen the final schedule. I think it's February 1st, which will be ring ceremony night for us. And
okay.
Looking forward to that in a great way. Guys earned it. The city deserves it. So we can't wait to get that recognition for the players in the city.
Where can people find how to follow the Albany Patroons?
Well, AlbanyPatroonsBasketball.com is our website, and we got everything. You know, we're on Facebook. We're all over the place. We got a pretty good marketing group that's pushing us out there. A lot of hardworking people, a lot of content to work with because it's so much has happened in Albany and so much is going on now. So be pretty easy to follow us.
And finally, when a fan gets locked into a team, they don't want to lock into a team that's not going to be there very long. Mm-hmm. And Albany can speak to being there for a really long time. Been in Albany, played some minor basketball. How can you speak to your confidence in the longevity of the basketball league?
Well, we have a new owner this year, Dr. Tim Maggs. He's a sports medicine doctor, and probably one of the best in the country. And I've known him for 30 years. He's been my support behind the scenes, you know, for the Patroons and any other thing that I chose to do. But he's here to stay. I mean, he's solid. We're well funded. He has a vision. He's doing things the right way. No shortcuts. Everything is top of the line, from the travel to how we treat the players to how we market, season ticket sales. Everything is done in the best way that we can. So I have a lot of confidence that we'll be here for a long time.
How about the league? How can you speak to the
confidence? The league has definitely gone through some bumps over the years. You know, it's just anything you do when you're some of this magnitude, you're going to get some growing pains. But David and Evelyn has done a great job of sticking in there, hanging it together. I think this year is the high water mark for this league. I think we're in better shape now than they've ever been, and I'm happy to see and hear that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right?
Thank you.
Go out there and enjoy.